Currently, pro-Russian Transnistria is a republic not recognized by the international community, which seeks independence from Moldova. For the Kremlin, it is an important point on the map of influence, one of the westernmost. Moldova does not have sufficient operational capabilities to defend its own borders. Chisinau is threatened by the ongoing war in Ukraine and Moscow's aggressive policies. Today, Vladimir Putin again threatened Kyiv's political allies with nuclear war. Western countries are talking about the possibility of sending NATO military contingents to Ukraine. We too have weapons that can raise targets on their territory. They should understand that their decisions risk a potential nuclear conflict, and that means the destruction of civilization. After the outbreak of war in Ukraine, Moldova increased its independence from Russian gas. In turn, when the authorities in Kyiv decided to close the borders, pro-Russian Transnistria was cut off from trade with Ukraine. Russia began to view Moldova as a real threat to its position in the region. In addition, yesterday, Transnistria asked Russia for help with its economic blockade by Moldova. This is indeed Moscow's modus operandi for the last 30 years. As if we look back still at the traditions of Tsarist Russia, it was always the Tsar of Moscow or from St. Petersburg who referred to his role as a protector or collector of Russian lands and protector of all these minorities. From the point of view of Russia controlling Transnistria, popular pro-European political sentiment in Moldova is dangerous. That is why the Kremlin intends to overthrow the government of the pro-EU president Maia Sandu, elected in 2020. It is the Russian intelligence who is supposed to be responsible for coup attempts, disinformation, and inciting the population to revolt. Putin is not at all concerned with taking control of Transnistria in order to support these people later and improve their standard of living, but actually to destabilize the situation in that region, and when the time is right, to carry out aggression. But of course, he must first achieve his goals in Ukraine. We are entering an election year for Moldova. Maia Sandu, the pro-Western president, will be vying for re-election, and the Russians are using all means to destabilize Moldova. And they will certainly take advantage, first from Transnistria, and second from Gagauzia, which is ruled by Baskan, meaning a governor, with a pro-Russian view. U.S. experts do not rule out that the Kremlin may take steps to strengthen the position of separatists in Transnistria, which could lead to a conflict. However, with the current course of the war in Ukraine, such a scenario is unlikely. From the south, from the southwest, it would provide such a base of operations into Ukraine so that possibly it could be better settled, and perhaps in the future from there to strike at Ukraine itself, and moreover, not only to affect other countries, including in the first place, of course, Moldova. The Russians in Transnistria do not have the kind of forces that would be able to attack Ukraine or attack Moldova. Transnistria seceded after the war in the 1990s, but still formally, it is part of the Republic of Moldova. What could a more aggressive Russian policy in the region lead to? Perhaps to a situation like that in Chechnya, which it annexed in 1996. After 2 years of brutal war. To this day, the Kremlin continues to successfully use its influence in the region. 2 weeks ago, 2 Chechens hired by the Russian government murdered Russian defector Maxim Kuzminov. The pilot was shot dead in an underground parking lot in Spain. The current regime is much more dangerous than the previous ones, and that's because today they are fighting for their lives. They are convinced that if they lose, they will be brought before an international tribunal that will make them answer for all the crimes and misdeeds of the last 30-40 years, for Chechnya, for Syria, for Georgia, and now for Ukraine. At the December European Council summit in Brussels, a decision was made to start accession negotiations with Ukraine and Moldova. The latter country applied for membership in the European Union in March 2022, and since spring 2022, reports have surfaced indicating that Russia intends to expand the war in Ukraine to Moldova and Transnistria.